The Daily Signal is back at the Republican National Convention from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're now joined by the leader of the Texas Public Policy Foundation, Greg Sindelar. Greg, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you, Rob. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, Texas is, so...
the best,
so
yes.
It is the best, but I was going to say it is setting the standard for so many of the other states. But it's not without its challenges. And one of the challenges not created by your governor or the good people of Texas, but by the Biden administration in Washington is the border crisis. And so you have a front row seat to that, unfortunately, given the vast the border that you share with Mexico. What is it like in Texas right now dealing with the millions of illegal aliens who are crossing the border?
Yeah, well, it's horrendous, right? Every city in Texas feels the crisis. It's not just the McAllen, the Del Rios, the El Pasos, all the way up in Amarillo, like they feel it, and really across the country we feel it, and it has really overrun our communities and put a heavy burden on the weight that every community feels in like taking care of these folks, and it's something that I wouldn't wish on anybody, even California. But we have seen through the work of Governor Abbott and the legislature in Texas that actually a lot of the movement has moved west to Arizona and California, and we're just trying to do everything we can to stem the tide and honestly not only protect Texas but hopefully protect the rest of the country.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I appreciate the leadership you've had, bringing people and giving them a direct perspective on what life is like on the border. So yes, a state issue, but also one that affects all of us. In your work at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, I know that school choice and education has been one area where we've covered at the Daily Signal. Frustrating that the lawmakers in Austin have not been able to get it across the finish line, but it seems that the prospect might be improving in the future. What can you tell us about the next legislative session?
Well, the prospects are probably as good as they've ever been. Last session and the many special sessions were extremely disappointing, but this is a subject that Texas Public Policy Foundation and Texas has been trying to solve for several decades, right? So I like to tell our team and other folks, like, you can say what you want about Texans, but we're gritty and we don't give up. And so we're not giving up. And, I saw the Moms for Liberty folks a little bit ago, but, that has been the sea change, I think, that has really awoken not just conservatives, but Texans generally. During COVID, even Texas is a little bit more free than a lot of places. But we saw what was happening in our classrooms, and it wasn't really up to the standards that we expected. And then when we tried to understand more, we couldn't get the transparency we needed. We weren't respected as part of that process. And so, and the results aren't there. Too many kids are not able to read and write on grade level, and we're failing to launch young men and women across the state, and that's just not sustainable. If we want to keep the Texas miracle, we have to do something. We have a moral obligation to do something. So I'm feeling really good. Obviously, the primaries, Governor Abbott was very active, as were some other statewide elected officials, and of the 20-something Republicans that voted against school choice in the last legislative session, I think like 15 or 16 of them are not coming back. And so we're like right on the cusp. It's no slam dunk for sure. There's a lot of work to do, a lot to figure out. Texas is a big, diverse state, but I think we're set up to definitely finally do something. As Governor Abbott always says, and I agree with, he says we aren't going to be first in this one, but sooner or later, hopefully very soon, we'll be best.
We spoke earlier to Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, who was very proud of what he's accomplished on education freedom and school choice.
Governor Sanders, Governor Landry, like everyone's beat us to the punch.
So I was going to ask, like, how does that pressure from other states, maybe influence the decision of the lawmakers in Austin when it comes to this issue for them?
Yeah, well, I think it only helps, right, to see, especially see it happen in more like-minded states and rural states, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, especially. That's like right there, right? And so I think that has helped really solidify for conservatives and Republicans. This is a main this is one of our main issues. This is a bread and butter issue. This is not, anything other than that. And if you are a Republican, we've seen a lot at the RNC. It's something you're expected to support, and it's something that I think we're finally breaking through, that this is good for all communities. It used to be like, oh, this is only good for maybe inner city communities. No, even in our rural areas, it is going to be a sea change. It's going to be very helpful to strengthening and revitalizing those.
One of the things that you've taken a leadership role on a national level is making sure that you're representing in court those clients who need the help when it particularly comes to advocating for policy. I know one of the situations that we've followed closely is off the coast of New England.
Yeah.
And if you could share with us some of the developments just recently, as of this week. I know that there was a major wind farm that broke and is now causing dangerous conditions there. You have a stake in the case related to that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in a week or two we have a hearing, so it's going to be very interesting coming up. But, Vineyard Wind Farms out off the coast of Massachusetts, we kind of took it to the left and say, wait, you can put in all of these environmental protection rules, but and then you can go violate those because you want to put these offshore wind farms. And the thing that's really offensive to me is there's national security issues around all of these. There's obviously environmental issues, which I'll touch on in just a second. And then also a lot of the tax abatements and money are going to companies that are actually headquartered outside the United States. So it isn't even U.S. companies. And we're hurting American fishermen and fishing women and their companies, and so it is really harming a whole industry off the coast. But earlier this week, they had a major issue with one of their offshore turbines that washed up and caused all kinds of debris offshore. I don't even think you can go to the beach now. It's like completely closed off. It's a biohazard, and it just shows the dangers of doing this. And they're not just wanting to do this in Massachusetts. They want to go all the way down the coast, all the way around the Gulf Coast. Just imagine what could happen, the hurricanes that come through there, and the issues that could cause. And so we're fighting to stop that, and we're representing these fishermen and fisherwomen so that we can help them get their businesses back and their lives back and protect America.
Yeah, it seems important to do that now so that before you have a situation where it affects Texas or other states down the coast, they can be settled.
It'd be too late.
Too late, as you say. Greg, one of the things that I think we so appreciate from our perspective in Washington is the leadership role that states and localities take.
Yeah.
As the Heritage Foundation president, Kevin Roberts, an alum of TPPF, proud alum, often says, we want to get back to that point of self-governance for the American people. So talk to us about TPPF and the role that you try to play in Austin in terms of restoring some of that freedom for the great people of Texas.
Yeah, well, the core of what we're trying to do is who decides, right? Are bureaucrats in Austin or D.C. deciding for you? Are you having the opportunity to decide? But, we've been lucky in Texas. We have great political leadership, and the culture and the values there, I think, have really helped make the state what it is. Now, obviously, as we talked about some of the issues we have, but I'm very optimistic about where we're going. And what we want to do is export that to other states. And so we're active in a couple dozen states. We are active even in D.C., usually working with organizations like Heritage and others, just saying, should the federal government be doing this? Can the states not have a say in some of this? But my perspective is if California wants to go ruin itself, well, that's kind of up to them. But let's let Texas have the roadway to go do the right thing. And so we've had a lot of success doing that. We are not in it for any notoriety or credit, but we want to help states be as prosperous as Texas.
Oh, that's great. That's great. How can our viewers learn more about the work you're doing or support it financially? Well,
we love both of those things. Obviously we're a 501c3, so we make our living off of donations from individuals, and that's how we make this all work. But our website is texaspolicy.com. You can donate there. You can read all of the research papers, some of them very long and very interesting. You can also find us on X. I almost said Twitter, but on X now at TPPF.
Well, certainly one of the leading organizations in the country for the conservative movement. It was a privilege to talk to you today, Greg, to talk to Chuck DeVore yesterday about some of the other initiatives that you're working on. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, and congratulations on all your success, Rob, and look forward to being on again.
Well, the Daily Signal looks forward to covering the work of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. We're coming to you live throughout the day from the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For the Daily Signal, I'm Rob Bluey.